This section will consider whether it is worth it to keep trying or to let go. How do you know that it is not worth continuing to fight for this relationship? Where is the fine line between that situation, that it's still worth trying for this relationship, still worth fighting for, and that situation when it's better to let go? When it's better to take care of ourselves because this relationship has no future, and being stuck in this relationship only makes us hurt each other. Does this relationship of yours still have a future? Is there any point in trying above everything to keep this relationship? Or it's better to leave this relationship, fight for each other, and end these hurting each other, these constant resentments and arguments. Sometimes it's better to calm down this whole atmosphere by just getting out of this relationship and ending it definitively. Many of you have such relationships where you hurt each other. It is difficult, and you cannot leave each other so definitively. So these are situations where you walk away from each other like this and then immediately get back together. Seemingly you are together, but you are not really with each other even after you return to each other. This is the situation where you are entangled in this relationship. When is it the right time to say,
I'm leaving. It's over for me. For me, it's burned out. There is nothing between us anymore.
And when is the right moment to leave without such regret, without mutual resentment, at the same time, so that we also don't have that feeling that we didn't do everything to fight for this relationship after all? When we leave such a relationship too early, and we later have such a feeling that we could have done something, we also have a grudge against ourselves. So here you have to find this boundary where it is still worth caring and fighting for this relationship, and where it no longer makes sense, because any attempt to resurrect this relationship, to resurrect these feelings, will only end up in wasted time anyway, and further emotional wounds that will make us even more dependent on each other. If you answer yourselves honestly, you will find that fine line where it is worth leaving this relationship already, that this relationship has no future, and that further fighting no longer makes sense. This struggle brings more harm than good, because there are only emotional wounds, mutual dependence on each other, and postponement of what is inevitable anyway. And so, in this relationship, there will be no more emotion, no love, no sense of security, and no trust, and we often choose to be stuck in this relationship anyway. This is probably the worst moment of suspense, when, on the one hand, we have the feeling that we will not be happy in this relationship, and on the other hand, we cannot get away from this relationship. If you find yourself reflecting on why you are in a relationship that does not give you happiness, then carry out a deeper analysis of the situation, and you will learn something about yourself and avoid making similar mistakes. Many of us tend to get into a pattern that has been beaten down over the years, and if you get stuck in that pattern, then any subsequent relationship can look similar. And that's why you need a deeper analysis to get out of such a pattern. You should ask yourself these questions. At what point in your life do you find yourself, and why exactly at this moment, at this very moment, are you thinking of leaving? Why didn't you think about leaving a month ago, 2 months ago? Why are you consciously delaying thinking about leaving related to some situation in the future? Maybe you are waiting until some birthday or special moment? People often assign closure dates and will only start thinking about ending a relationship once certain things have been settled. On the other hand, if you are already thinking at this point that this relationship must end, then you need to ask yourself these questions. Did something special happen at that moment that made you think so much that you are just now thinking about this departure? Was it something you did? Maybe you met another person who opened your eyes and showed you are unhappy in this relationship. Did something in your life influence you to think that this relationship is not for you? On the other hand, ask yourself if something your partner has done makes you think that this relationship is burned out or not happy for you. Maybe it was the other person who met someone, and you noticed that this acquaintance was developing and that you did not want to be stuck in such a toxic triangle. Therefore, ask yourself why exactly at this moment this thought arose that this relationship needs to end, that you want to leave this relationship. Does it stem from you? Does it stem from the other person? Does it stem from the fact that you are fed up with specific, constantly recurring situations and can no longer live like this? If you are thinking of leaving, you have probably noticed that you have moved away from each other. Everyone is living a little bit in their own way. You have a different vision of the future, and these visions of the future don't match up at all. You have the impression that you come a bit from two different worlds, and these worlds cannot be merged. And here lies the follow-up question. When did you notice that you and your partner live completely on different planets? These worlds do not intermingle. They cannot be combined, and these different visions of the future cannot be reconciled. After all, it was not a problem for you that you are from two other worlds, and these visions of the future cannot be combined. It didn't bother you, and you wouldn't have seriously started this relationship. Or maybe it is the case that you learned something new about this person, about his life, which made you no longer fully trust this person. You don't believe what this person has told you so far, and you simply can't give this person a second chance because this information was so important to you, which turned this life of yours a little upside down. Therefore, consider why you now realize you are from two different worlds. Why is it that you are just now noticing this? Why was it once not a problem for you? What influenced the fact that these two worlds of yours are so far apart, that this vision of your and your partner's future is so far apart, and to make this correct decision for you about whether to stay in this relationship and fight for it, or instead leave and fight for yourself? It is worth analyzing the development of your relationship and the growth of your relationship. Consider, what made you, in general, start to be together with each other? What attracted you to the other person? What made this person seem very interesting? So, if something attracted you to this person, think about how it was initially, and now get into the current situation. What is it that makes you repulsed by this person? Sometimes it's the same thing that attracts us to this person and what repels us from this person now. That's why it's helpful to think about what attracts and repels us from the other person. When you start analyzing those beginnings of your relationship, think about what has changed since then. How have you strongly changed? But how has your partner also changed? Therefore, let's reflect on the beginnings of your relationship. Wasn't it the case that one of you sacrificed more strongly for this relationship? You probably want to make a really good decision at this particular moment in your life. You want to know whether it's worth fighting for this relationship, or whether you need to fight for yourself and end it as soon as possible. If you want to fight, then set yourself a specific deadline. If you think it is still worth fighting for this relationship, it is worth giving you this second, maybe last chance, and then setting a specific deadline for when you will fight for this relationship. Will it be until Christmas, until your birthday, or until some anniversary? Some specific date has to be. The point is to give yourself that deadline to decide so you are not stuck indefinitely in a suspended relationship. It is a very unpleasant feeling when you try to fight for this relationship and it takes months or years. Neither is it better, nor is it worse. It's the same always, and you're unhappy in that relationship. If you want to feel like you've done everything you can to fight for this relationship, consider the deadline. Also consider whether you can end the relationship. Can you break up or divorce? Can you tell the other person about it? Because if you can't do it, this is where the red warning light comes on. Another one shows that your problems are deep and you may never solve them. However, when you dare to tell the other person that you have such a set deadline, that this is your last chance to do something about the relationship, you have the chance to see the other person's reaction and consider whether such a reaction pleases you. Did such a reaction from the other person surprise you? Or it was the case that it was completely predictable? Did the other person shrug his shoulders, take nothing to heart from the term and wave his hand? Maybe it was only then that you finally noticed the lack of commitment on the other person's part. How does this person feel discouraged from fighting for this relationship? And that will be important to you. That's why it's worth daring to set yourself this deadline, but also to say to the other person,
This is my deadline, where I give us one last chance. If we don't take this chance, unfortunately, we can't be together.
That's how it goes, unfortunately. Sometimes the truth is brutal, but it's your happiness and life. No one will make the tough decisions for you. I invite you to the next section. If you liked the material, leave a like and send it to a friend or someone close to you who may benefit from this knowledge. If you want to support our work and help us create more valuable videos, there is a link in the description.